Hey there everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Becky and today I'm going to talk to you about this. This is my sketchbook that I started a little over 30 days ago. Let's see, I started this on June 16th and it is to help me learn how to draw from imagination, or force me to draw from imagination is actually more like it. In the past, I've always thought of myself as someone who can't draw from imagination. That I was more of someone that can copy something that I see in front of me, whether that be in real life or from reference. And that's how I've done the majority of my drawing, because I assumed that I was just not any good at drawing from imagination. I tried a whole bunch of different things in order to make myself better at drawing from imagination, but the one thing that I hadn't actually done is practice drawing from imagination, because it was intimidating and it scared me. So I decided to make this junk sketchbook. It is made from just some cardboard that I had lying around. I've got a thing that allows me to do the wire binding and then just printer paper on the inside. So I have been drawing in this for 30 days. It's been more than 30 days since I've had the sketchbook, but there were a couple of times when I wasn't able to draw in it. I went out of town for different reasons, and so I didn't have a chance to draw in there, but I have been drawing in here for 30 days now, and I am really happy with the results. I'm going to actually do a sketchbook walkthrough of the first 30 days with you. I originally wasn't sure if I would show you these drawings. Some of them aren't very good. I will preface this, but this is me learning how to draw from imagination. And I'm going to talk to you about kind of just what I feel and what I've learned from doing this exercise. And maybe if you are like me and feel like you can't draw from imagination, maybe it's something you'll want to try. All right, so here is my sketchbook. This is my junk sketchbook. I'm trying to make myself draw from imagination more. Like I said in a previous video, I have always considered myself more of a copy artist, someone who has to see the thing to draw it. And I always assumed that I couldn't draw from my imagination. And so I forced myself to do so in this sketchbook. It's a cheap sketchbook. I put it together from supplies that I had around here. This is just printer paper, so I wasn't worried about ruining it. I knew that this is what I made this for. So all of the prompts in here are actual simple objects, because I wanted to make sure that it was something that I knew what it looked like, and I could picture it in my head and draw it, rather than a concept or a feeling or something like that and trying to draw that. I thought I wanted to make this as approachable as possible. So by going with some kind of simple concept, it made it much more approachable and much less scary to start. So I started off with an axe here, and the first couple of drawings, I did this thing where I drew what would a simplified version of the thing look like, and then what are each of the pieces, and then I kind of put it together. And on this one, I put some shadow on there. I don't put shadow on all of them, and some days I spend more time and energy than others. But and sometimes I actually did go look up a reference. So in this case with the cauldron, I was trying to remember what a cauldron looked like, and I forgot legs and the handle. I put the handle here and I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. It's not attaching right. And so I thought, well, maybe this is how they attach. So I drew that. And then I went and looked up what a cauldron looks like and saw that they look kind of more like this. But then I closed that up and went away for an hour or two, and then came back and drew the cauldron from what I remembered it looked like. So this is still from imagination, though I did look up a reference before I drew it. These potion bottles are completely from imagination, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. Some days I just drew one thing and I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's what a feather looks like. It's all good. Some days I tried to draw the object from different angles so that I knew that I could kind of turn it around in my head. And some days turned out better than others. This one, I am not good at drawing cartoons, so I thought, hey, why don't I try and draw a cartoony mouse? And I had this idea in my head of what the mouse was going to look like it wasn't this. This is actually quite horrifying, and it makes me think a little bit of the Chuck E. Cheese mouse, the animatronic one. Kind of scary, but it is what it is. But one thing that I did find in this sketchbook is by drawing from imagination, it really helped me understand the structure of the thing that I was drawing, because I had to imagine what that thing looked like and how it's put together in order to draw it. And that really helped me understand the structure, which I think is going to really help me draw even from reference in the future, because I will understand how that thing is actually put together. So you can see with ellipse here, I drew some cross contours to just show me kind of how this shape bulges out, that sort of thing. Same thing with the mouth open. And then like with the sandcastle here, I don't know if you can see, there's still some construction lines in here where I drew the oval and then drew the center lines so that I could get them lined up, that sort of thing. You can see some construction lines here, and there are some construction lines on this as well, though it's a little bit less obvious. And that helped me just really understand what this thing looks like so that I could put it together. And I think this turned out really good. I'm really happy with this. This one didn't require a whole lot of construction because it's not very thick. So this is obviously just a piece of gooey pizza. Some days were less successful than others. So these 2 days weren't very good, but I did them and I moved on. Other days I think were much more successful. So these 2 days I think were really good. I'm really happy with how this turned out. And sometimes, like I said, I did try to add shading in, and sometimes I didn't. In this case, obviously I did, and I put arrows to show this is where the light's coming from, so it helped me understand where to put the shadow. I don't think it's perfect, but I don't think it's too bad either. And some days I actually did go and look up a reference directly. So I always start off, if I am going to look up a reference, I always start off drawing the thing from imagination first. And then I look at it and go, I don't think that's quite right. And so then I go look up a reference to figure out where I went wrong. So in this case, I drew this first, and then I went and looked up a reference to draw it. And you can see lots of cross contour lines on here to just really help me understand the shape of the thing. And I did the same thing from the ear from behind, and then went and looked up a reference. And then just kind of this one I just drew and was making note to myself that sometimes the earlobe is connected. It's not always disconnected and kind of a flap like this one. And this was, drawn from kind of what I saw up here. So in a way, drawn from reference. Yeah, and so like I just tried to remember what a gallon of milk looked like, and that was actually surprisingly hard to draw. And it's not super successful, but I do understand how that shape looks and how that thing is constructed so much better now. Same thing with eyes here. I was trying different things, and I'm like, oh, that looks super bulgy, and that looks a little funny, and just kind of understanding how the skin folds over the eyeball itself and what that's going to look like. So I think that doing this exercise is really going to help me understand how to draw things in the future, either from imagination or from reference. So I'm really happy that I've done this. And yeah, I just kind of flipping through quickly here. There's nothing terribly interesting in here. Like I said, everything is just kind of an object. So here I tried different types of pickles, and then I just made a pickle jar because I felt like it. Screwdriver, chain, and I was thinking of like chain link fence. Over here I was trying to figure out what does a chain link fence look like? And this is not necessarily wrong, but I couldn't figure out like the overlapping, which ones overlapped what. So then I went and looked it up and kind of figured out the pattern of overlapping and how that works. So this is actually from reference here. And like I said, sometimes I went and found the thing from reference to draw it, and sometimes I just went completely from imagination. Like over here, these are all completely from imagination. But yeah, I'm going to pop back up to the face up view and talk and kind of finish this out. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this sketchbook. Like I said, I'm not completely done with it. I have done about half of the sketchbook, and I've got about 30 more drawings to go in here. I think I ended up putting 30 pages in here, but I've been drawing front and back, as you've seen. So there's maybe another 30 days, and maybe I'll show you the results of that as well. But overall, I'm really happy with this exercise. I have found that, as I said during the top-down view, I found that number one, drawing from imagination like this has really helped me understand the structure and the shape of things and how they go together in a way that I didn't realize it would. I assumed that drawing from reference and kind of studying the things would have given me that knowledge or helped me understand it, but having to reconstruct the item in my head has really helped me understand how those things go together. Number two, I found that I think that my drawings were more successful than I expected them to be. I expected this to be complete trash, and I expected not wanting to show anybody anything from here. But as you saw, I did show you, and I don't think everything is complete trash. Some of it is, and that's okay. That's what a sketchbook is for. It's for you to play and learn and figure out what you did well and what you didn't do well. So I'm perfectly happy to show you the trash that's in here. Number three, I had a lot of fun working in this sketchbook. I found myself to be really engaged in the drawing process, especially when I was trying to figure out what this thing would look like. Just the other day, I was trying to figure out how to draw a braid, and I didn't want to look up a reference. So I know how to braid hair. So I was like, okay, this is how hair would be braided. And so I started to draw out like, okay, here are the 3 strands. This strand goes over the middle and always just kind of goes over the middle, and drew that out. And it really helped me understand how to draw a braid. Same thing goes with a couple of other things that I've drawn in there, like the sandcastle and things like that. I really had to think through how that thing is put together and how that thing works. And that was really fun for me. And maybe that's tapping into my, software engineer brain, where I need to, I like to understand how things work and make them work. I don't know. But I did find it super engaging to draw in this way, and I'm definitely going to keep going. And I'll probably make some more of these junk sketchbooks. And eventually, I think that I'll stop making junk sketchbooks and just put them in my regular sketchbook. But for now, I'm liking doing the junk sketchbook thing. So maybe in about another 30 days, you'll see a full sketchbook walkthrough and see the last half of this sketchbook. But in the meantime, if you are like I was, and maybe still am a little bit, and feel like you can't draw from imagination, I highly, highly recommend getting yourself or making yourself a really cheap sketchbook that you don't care about. One that you're not going to show to anybody, and one that you can just feel super free to play in. The cheaper, the better, because you won't feel bad about ruining it. That's advice that I've heard time and again, and I wasn't sure that I believed it, but now that I've done it, I definitely believe it. Make or get yourself a really cheap sketchbook and just try. And then the other thing that I would recommend is to pick concrete objects or concrete animals or whatever that you can draw, and make yourself draw it first from imagination, and then if you feel like you need to go look and see what the thing looks like, go ahead and do that. And if you feel like you need to draw it from reference, then go ahead and do that. It's your sketchbook, it's your rules. But I would highly recommend trying to draw it from imagination first, because you will be surprised at how much you know and how much you can do if you just make yourself do it. Well, that's about it for this week. It's going to be a short video. I am starting to work on the video where we are going to be comparing the 3 different gouaches, the Miami gouache, the Royal 9 Nickel gouache, and the Winsor & Newton gouache, but that's going to take a little bit more effort, and I wasn't able to get that ready for this week, but hopefully you'll see at least part of that in next week's video. So I hope you have a great week, and I will see you all next week. Bye.